She had warned them to stay out, but they didn't listen. So she made sure they'd never try again. At 42 years old, Tasha Williams had worked tirelessly for everything she owned. She took great pride in her home, a beautiful 2-story house in Chandler, Arizona. But what she valued most was her backyard, her personal retreat. Tall palm trees lined the fence, creating a private oasis with her greatest treasure at the center, a pristine, crystal-clear pool that she meticulously maintained. She wasn't one to boast, but she had every reason to be proud. She had purchased the house entirely on her own. No favors, no shortcuts, just years of dedication, saving, and smart decisions. Her neighborhood was a mix of longtime residents and newer homeowners, some friendly, others more reserved. Tasha had no strong preferences. She wasn't trying to be the most popular neighbor, she just wanted to enjoy her home in peace. That peace, however, didn't last. The first time it happened, she brushed it off. One Saturday afternoon, after returning from running errands, she noticed something strange, wet footprints leading from her backyard gate to the sidewalk. At first, she assumed it had been the landscaper, or maybe a utility worker. But then she spotted a damp towel carelessly draped over her fence. Suspicious, she checked the pool. The water level was lower than usual. Her pool float had been moved. A half-empty soda can sat abandoned on her lounge chair. Someone had been in her yard. Taking a deep breath, she tried to be reasonable. Maybe it was just a misunderstanding. Perhaps a kid had jumped the fence and panicked when they realized they'd been caught. But when she asked around, she was met with nothing but indifference. One woman laughed it off, saying, "Oh, it's probably just one of the kids. You know how they are." Another neighbor, a middle-aged man barely glancing up from his car, shrugged and muttered, "They're just having fun. You've got a nice pool, Miss Williams. People notice." The way he said it unsettled her, but she let it go. Instead, she reinforced the lock on her gate, hoping that would be the end of it. It wasn't. A week later, while sitting in her living room, she heard splashing. At first, she thought it might be the pool filter running, but then, laughter. She walked to the back door and peered outside. There, in her pool, was a teenage boy swimming like he belonged there. A girl, likely his sister, sat at the edge, casually dipping her feet in the water. Tasha flung the door open. "Excuse me?" The kid's head snapped up, eyes wide. The boy scrambled out of the pool like a fish caught on a hook. I thought," he stammered. "We didn't think you'd mind." "You didn't think to ask?" Tasha shot back. "Who even are you?" The girl mumbled something about living 2 houses down before they both bolted out of the gate. Tasha stood there, gripping a dripping towel, her heart pounding. She wanted to let it go, but what happened next made that impossible. The next day, she confronted the kid's parents, expecting an apology. Instead, she got an argument. "Oh, come on," the mother scoffed. "They're just kids. It's hot. What's the big deal?" Tasha stared at her, stunned. "The big deal," she said slowly, "is that this is my property, my home, my pool, and I don't remember handing out invitations." The father, arms crossed, muttered, "You're being dramatic." Dramatic. That was the word people always used when they weren't the ones being disrespected. Tasha swallowed the words she wanted to say and instead installed security cameras, hoping that would send a clear message. But it didn't. The problem was only beginning. For about 2 weeks the cameras worked. No more footprints, no more wet towels, no more intruders. Tasha started to believe she had finally gotten through to them. Then came another scorching Saturday afternoon. As she pulled into her driveway, something felt off. Her side gate, the one she always kept locked, was slightly open. A sinking feeling settled in her gut as she walked to the backyard. Her stomach dropped. Her yard was packed. Not just with kids, adults. Lounge chairs were taken. Beer bottles littered the ground. Someone had even set up a folding table with snacks. And her pool? Full. A couple of women waded waist-deep, chatting like they owned the place. A man leaned against the pool ledge, sipping a drink with a grin. For a second, Tasha thought she was hallucinating. Was this real? Then she spotted someone familiar. Sandra, her neighbor from 3 houses down, met her gaze and waved like they were old friends. "Hey girl, hope you don't mind," and she called out. "It was so hot today we figured we'd cool off." Tasha's jaw clenched. Mind? Oh, she minded. Her voice came out sharp and steady. "Every single one of you, get out, now!" Some people froze, others exchanged glances, as if she was the one overreacting. Sandra scoffed. Tasha took a step forward, her anger simmering just beneath the surface. "It's not just a pool, it's my pool, my house, my yard. You don't live here. You don't pay for this, so get out. All of you." Someone muttered, "Geez, what's her problem?" That was the last straw. Tasha marched over to the pool equipment box, grabbed the remote, and shut off the pool filter. Then, she yanked the power cord to the speakers, plunging the yard into silence. "I'm calling the police," she announced. That got them moving. Drinks were snatched up, towels hastily wrapped around bodies, and within minutes, her yard was empty. Sandra, however, had the nerve to roll her eyes as she left. "You don't have to be so uptight," she muttered. Nobody was hurting anything. Tasha wanted to scream. Instead, she stood there, stone-faced, watching as they all shuffled away like nothing had happened. She slammed the gate shut, locked it, and placed her hands on her hips, fuming. But one thing was clear. This wasn't over. They had zero respect for her, and if respect wasn't enough to stop them, something else would be. Tasha had tried everything, talking, reasoning, cameras, locks. None of it worked. Now, it was time to get creative. Sitting at her kitchen table, she replayed the security footage from earlier that day, seething at the sheer entitlement of these people. They acted like her property was theirs to use whenever they pleased. She wasn't just angry anymore. She was done. If they insisted on treating her pool like the neighborhood water park, she would make sure their next visit would be their last. First, she took a trip to the hardware store and picked up 2 heavy-duty locks, one for the side gate and one for the pool equipment box. The old ones had been strong, but these? Unbreakable. Next, she went online and ordered a special chemical treatment, not chlorine, but something stronger. It wasn't harmful, just a harmless yet highly effective trick often used in public pools to catch rule breakers. A little something called pool dye, a chemical that turns the water bright green if someone urinates in it. Yep. If any of those freeloaders dared to sneak into her pool again, they'd walk out looking like radioactive aliens. But that was just the beginning. Tasha wanted insurance, something that would make them think twice before ever stepping foot in her yard again. So she went to a local sign shop and had a custom warning sign made. The next morning, she drilled it onto her fence, right where everyone could see it. Warning: pool chemically treated for unauthorized use. Exposure may cause rash, severe itching, or temporary skin discoloration. Did it sound extreme? Maybe. Was any of it actually true? Not at all. But they didn't know that. To really sell it, she placed an empty hazardous chemical container near the pool pump, something she had gotten from a friend who worked in maintenance. Now, all she had to do was wait, and it didn't take long. On the next sweltering afternoon, she sat by her window, sipping iced tea and watching. For most of the day, everything was quiet, until she spotted a couple of teenagers walking past her fence. They stopped, read the sign, whispered something to each other, then one of them pointed at the chemical container. Within seconds, they turned around and walked away. Tasha smirked. Later that evening, Sandra, the same entitled neighbor from the last unauthorized pool party, was walking her dog when she noticed the sign. She squinted at it, then pulled out her phone and started typing. Curious, Tasha checked Facebook a few minutes later, and there it was, a post in the neighborhood group chat. FYI, looks like Tasha put some kind of weird chemical in her pool. The sign says it causes rashes and skin issues. Not sure how safe that is. Just a heads up. The comments started rolling in. OMG. What if it leaks into the ground? That doesn't sound legal. Why does she even care so much? It's just water. Tasha burst out laughing. They weren't upset because she was lying. They weren't even upset about getting caught. They were mad because they realized their free ride was over. And if they wanted to challenge her, they were welcome to try. For the first time in months, Tasha finally felt at peace. No more random towels. No more strangers lounging in her yard. No more entitled attitudes. Her plan had worked, or so she thought. Then came the knock. It was a Thursday evening when she heard it, sharp, impatient banging on her front door. She sighed, set down her drink, and peered through the peephole. Sandra, arms crossed, looking furious. Here we go. Tasha opened the door, keeping her face calm. Yes? Sandra didn't waste time. We need to talk. Tasha raised an eyebrow. Do we? Sandra huffed. Look, I don't know what your problem is, but people are saying you put some kind of dangerous chemicals in your pool. Tasha blinked, then smirked. I did, she said smoothly, to keep out uninvited guests. Sandra's jaw tightened. You can't do that. What if a kid touches the water? Tasha folded her arms. A kid who broke into my yard? Sandra hesitated. That's not the point. It's exactly the point, Tasha shot back. I told people to stay out. They didn't listen, so I took precautions. Sandra scoffed. You're being ridiculous. You don't even have kids. That pool is just sitting there going to waste. Tasha tilted her head. So, because I don't have kids, that means my pool is open for public use? Sandra rolled her eyes. Oh, come on, don't act like... Tasha cut her off. No, you come on, Sandra. You and everyone else around here have some nerve. You don't pay my water bill. You don't clean my pool. But you expect to just help yourselves. Sandra's face turned red. Well, maybe if you weren't so unfriendly, people would actually like you. Tasha let out a deep, genuine laugh. That's your problem, Sandra. You think being liked means letting people walk all over you. Sandra opened her mouth, then closed it, shaking her head in frustration. You know what? Forget it. She turned on her heel. Enjoy being the mean neighbor, she threw over her shoulder. Tasha smirked. Enjoy using your own hose this summer. Sandra stomped off. Tasha shut the door, smiling to herself. They were mad, but they had finally gotten the message. And just to be sure, she doubled down. The next morning, she added one last touch, a motion-activated sprinkler system along the fence. If anyone tried to sneak in again, they'd get a nice, cold wake-up call. But the best part? She never even had to use it, because no one tried again. The freeloading days were over. After months of frustration, Tasha had finally reclaimed her peace, her pool, hers again, her backyard, quiet. The entitlement, gone. And the best part? She never even had to call the police, because that was never the goal. She wasn't trying to cause drama or make enemies. She just wanted what was hers to be respected. But here's the thing. Some people don't respect boundaries until they're forced to. Tasha had tried to be nice. She had given warnings. She had even asked politely, and they ignored her at every turn. But the moment she flipped the script, they backed off. Because at the end of the day, people will take as much as you let them. It doesn't matter if it's your time, your space, your energy, or even your damn swimming pool. If you don't set boundaries, someone will walk all over you. So, was Tasha petty for what she did? Maybe. But was she wrong? Not even a little. What about you? Have you ever had to stand your ground when people tried to take advantage of you? Or better yet, how would you have handled this situation? Drop a comment below and let's talk about it. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more. Thanks for watching. And remember, respect is earned, not given.